Going live now. Hi everyone, we'll just give it a couple of minutes to let everyone log in. Hi Abs.
Hey Bobby, all right?
Yeah, you.
I'm all right, thanks.
See more people join in, which is good.
That's me, Bobby, there. Can you see me?
Oh yeah, I can see you. Can't miss you in that shirt. Give it a couple more minutes and wait for people.
I can see you, Bobby.
What, can you only just see me now?
Yeah.
Right, you ready?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm ready, Bobby.
Right then, we'll get started. So it's a real pleasure to be able to welcome everyone to this slightly unconventional open day. 2 years ago today, I was in the position of searching for the right uni for me, and it was probably around this time that I attended my very first open day for UA92. And it was at this event, obviously not online in the flesh, but we didn't have a campus at the time, that I fell in love with UA92, and I was sure that it was the next step for me. But it's not always that easy, and especially during the current climate when you can't physically look around the campus and the city, and have an inability to properly look around and make it feel like it's the right one for you. And I really do hope this event answers any questions you may have about the institution, and it gives you confidence to make UA92 one of your top choices when you apply for higher education. But please don't be shy today. Myself and my peers, Abs, and others and the staff work by, and if there's anything you'd like to know, even if the question seems trivial, please just ask via the Q&A function or chat box, and we'll be happy to help.
Me now, Bobby.
Yeah.
Oh. Today we got a jam-packed schedule with a live Q&A with our co-founder, Gary Neville, and of course, Bobby Hadcraft, journalism student. Then we'll move on to the UA92 experience session where you will hear more about our unique timetable and what we have to offer, and why learning at UA92 is different and distinctive. And for me, honestly, the best way to learn. We've got a special session for one of our partners, Microsoft, who are based in UA92, but not at the moment, obviously. And after that, we've got sessions on the student life, finance, and scholarships and course tasters. It's jam-packed. Listen, guys, it's virtual at home. So remember, it's going to be a fun virtual experience.
And just a reminder for anyone who is interested in applying to study this September, November or January next year, we also have a fast track to 2020 session at 12:15. And for any parents, please join our parents and guardian session at 3:15, so 3:15. And you should have been provided with all of the Zoom links for each session via your virtual open day event schedule, and all the links are available on our website. But if you do have any issues, just message us on the chat box and we'll be happy to help. DM us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or drop us an email at hello@ua92.ac.uk. And now, before we move into the live Q&A with Gary Neville, Abs and I thought we could tell you a bit about our student experience at UA92.
So yes.
Wait, you're going to ask me first?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, go on then.
So, Bobby, why UA92 for you?
Well, it was a weird one because I went to not an open day. It was one of the big UCAS fairs at first. I don't know whether you went to one. It was at it was at Hull University. It was held, and my sixth form took us there. And I kind of had in my mind some places I wanted to go. Like I was interested in Leeds University, Sheffield, just because they were local. But I went over to the Lancaster stall, and because I knew I wanted to study journalism at that point. And Lancaster didn't do journalism, but they pointed me towards UA92 because it was a small stall. And Andrew Smith, I think he's like one of the participants, but he told me all about it. And I took a prospectus home and I told my parents about it. And it seemed a bit too good to be true because it was like everything I'd want in a university. Because at this point, I wasn't even sure I wanted to go to uni. I was thinking maybe I should do an apprenticeship or something like that. Because they all seem to offer the same things, and obviously UA92 offers something different.
Yeah.
It was especially the kind of the industry partners, which you'll hear about later. That is what one of the big attractions for me. How about you?
I think for me, having previously been to university before, I felt like, all right, cool. I used to walk past this building every day. It's like a calling sign for me. I thought, am I going to try it again? So I thought I'm going to try it again. I read a bit about it. I researched it, and I felt like yourself a bit. Oh, this is too good to be true. I don't know if I can fit it around my studies. I don't know if I can do this again. I don't know if I can come out of my comfort zone. But I think for me, when I read about it and how they don't just care about you getting the qualification, they care about you getting the real life experience, and they really emphasize on the well-being of the student as well. And that's one thing that, for me, stuck out for me. They really, really care about the students' well-being rather than it's good. It's great getting a qualification at the end of it, but it's giving us those life skills and preparing us for the next steps for our future. And I think for me too, it's paving the way it's just a brand new campus, and we're the first cohort, and I feel like it's just brings something different to Stretford as well.
Yeah. So how did you find it different to your other uni? What made UA92 stand out?
I think for me, what made UA92 stand out, I went to a previous uni and I felt like I didn't even get enough well-being support. I didn't really get enough. I didn't know when I was going to be in, what time I was going to be in. I felt like it was all over the place. And I feel like, because I struggle with my mental health sometimes, it was getting a bit too much for me. And I feel like UA92 is much more of a different thing. You actually know whether you're going to be a 9-1 student or a 2-6 student for the rest of the 3 years. You know how structured everything is. And I think for me, it's more of an open planned environment and smaller class sizes. And I feel like there's enough support there for everyone.
Well, you just touched on the fact that you didn't know your hours, but how do you find it, the timetable? How do you find that works for you at UA92?
Oh, my days, Bobby. Good job you asked that question. It works amazing. Because I work in the retail park down the road at M&S, and I felt like it's just works perfect for me because I was really panicking and anxious of it. If I go to uni, I'm not gonna have a job, but it works perfect for me because I finish at 1, half 1, go to work. It works perfect. I know whether I'm a 9-1, it fits around my life perfectly. Literally, It's just the best. Yourself?
What, the timetable?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's really, really worked for me. Obviously, I've spoken to PM students because neither of us are PM, but obviously that works for them, and they've obviously adjusted their life around their hours differently. But I really like it. It means when you're going in, you're not gonna miss a lesson because you forgot, because when everything is. And how do you find Digi Wednesday? And that's digital Wednesday, if anyone wondering.
Yeah. I found it really, really good because I felt like Digital Wednesdays gave us the skills and tools for what we're doing right now. As during this pandemic, we're all working from home. So I felt like Digital Wednesdays, I benefited from it because you get to work from home digitally, but then we didn't realize it prepare us for the future, if you know what I mean, Bobby. It actually worked quite well, I think.
I agree. I found the transition from finishing uni on campus and then doing the remote lessons on Microsoft Teams. I found it quite quite smooth. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have any problems. I've heard people at other institutions or you know, even my brothers, they're at sixth form. They told me that the transition hasn't been quite so good, and it kind of started out as committing to the online lessons, but as it's gone on, they've kind of let it drift, which is quite worrying when you know, for it's education, you're like missing out on all this time. So it means a lot of catching up to do, unfortunately. But yeah.
And another thing we mentioned at UA92 is the personal coaching experience. How have you found that?
Oh, I found that really good. Yeah, like it's just everything you could ask for the coaching sessions, because I thought it might just be all to do with what we do on our course, but it's work experience, it's, you know, any troubles you might have, because obviously I've moved from Hull to Manchester, which was quite a big step for me, and I struggled with homesickness. So that and the and Steph, the wellbeing officer, both things have been
Amazing.
really good for me. Yeah. How about you?
I find it really, really great. So I have had Christina, who is a sports science teacher and PA, and I felt like having someone who's not in your course is really, really great. I felt like she didn't help me just with my course, she helped me with other things I was struggling with, and like helped me with Steph. So it's been really, really great. Loved it.
You touched on having experiences outside of your course. So how do you find target talent curriculum mixing with the sports science lot?
Right. Target talent curriculum is where you get mixed up with different students and different like courses. So media and journalism and PE and sports science got mixed up, and it was really, really good getting to meet all the different courses and all the different classmates, and you get to make really, really good friends outside your course. Bobby's in the laugh, but I made friends with John Bashi and James, but it's like you get to meet other people, you get to go out your comfort zone as well. And like that's one of the good things about UA92. You get to come out your comfort zone and you get to meet other people outside your course. When, you know, traditional unis, you won't get to really do that.
What else did you do on TTC though, Abs?
Oh, one thing I learned about TTC for me was resilience, how to become a better leader. So resilience for me, like it's like if something doesn't go your way, what are you going to do about it? So the next step, how you can come about it. We learned health and well-being, we've learned communication skills, and I feel like all those skills that we learned in TTC week has, for me anyway, it's built me up for this pandemic, because if I didn't have resilience, health and well-being, if I didn't do TTC week, I don't think I'll be as strong as I am today during pandemic. Do you know what I mean? Because it has given us those skills, it has made me more resilient, it has taught me if something doesn't go your way, you got to remember how you're going to overcome it. Remember, getting a no is not failure, but never fear no, basically. Like, and that's what resilience taught me. Don't fear no.
Yeah. And we've also got some of our industry partners joining us today. Hotel Football, Talk, Microsoft. And one of the best things about studying here is the industry exposure you get. I've had a lot of opportunities with Talk, and we also went to KPMG in town. Could you tell me about some of the opportunities you've had?
Oh yeah, so we've had an opportunity we went to ITV Studios in Manchester, and then we went to the Granada Studios and the breakfast. How they do the Granada reports. We went to see behind the scenes, and obviously sit in the chair and read the auto cue with a pro. Really, really good. And I felt like we got to meet, like Gary Neville came into our class to speak about his time in media. We've had
on in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and we've had Mandy, who is a journalist who came to our class, which is a really great experience. And we've had like different opportunities. We had Michelle Partington come in for UA92 for TTC week. Do you remember health and well-being?
Oh yeah.
So for me, like we've had a lot of people and a lot of skills that we've learned that we're taking on board.
Yeah.
How about you?
No, I've had loads of experiences. Like obviously a lot of the ones that you've mentioned because of the we're on the same course. And yeah, we went to KPMG. Did you go for the student ambassador training? It was how to present in front of an audience.
On the same group.
Really useful. Obviously we talk. I've gone in a couple of times, and The staff there
Talk
are
a bit about talk.
Huh?
A bit about talk.
Oh, well, I went
talk.
in and I work shadowed a few people, and it was really interesting because it kind of opened my eyes to careers I hadn't even considered. So that was really interesting. Because it kind of gives you that, because you can't really choose a career without looking at several different options, and knowing exactly what you want to do. Just touching on how we do study here. What do you think about studying one module at a time? Because obviously it's different at other unis, and you probably had a different experience at the other university you were at.
I think for me, studying it one model at a time worked really, really well for me, because you know what subject you're going to do, you know what it's planned for the next 5 weeks, and I'm not getting all confused and flustered, and I think it works perfectly for me. And when we have structured blocks, we get guest lecturers in as well. So with the structured blocks, for our last journalism assignment, we've had Kevin Palmer in, who is a journalist. So the blocks are really, really good because you get interesting partners in. So we had Kevin Palmer in, who's an amazing journalist. He's really good friends with Ricky Gervais. And I felt like his experience has given us a lot of knowledge and a lot of opportunities. Kevin has literally given us opportunities. He's given us, Bobby got her first byline a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I've had a couple actually. It's been great.
I've had my first byline.
You don't expect it though, do you, during a lockdown? To kind of have all this work experience, because I thought, I had things organised and I thought, oh great, that's my summer written off. But no, I've had things published and it's been really exciting.
I had my first one published. It's quite you get quite a nice feeling about it, and I feel like Kevin Palmer sees potential in us, and we had like Phil Jones in as well.
Oh yeah, no, he was really helpful. Yeah, we interviewed him on Movie the Week.
So I felt like the industry partners that are coming in, I felt like we have the module blocks are different to my university, because we get each module, we get industry partners in and people who support us, and they don't just support us the one time, they carry on supporting us, although our block, they carry on, do you know what I mean? They carry on supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you might think at another university, because when I was kind of looking around, I thought I might feel like a number. I went to a very small sixth form and I didn't feel like a number there. And I thought, well, that jump to university is going to be quite significant if I go to a place of like where there's like 5 in a class to, hundreds in a lecture theatre. And obviously we don't do teaching like that here, do we?
No, and that's one of the things that is different for me, that we don't do teaching like that, because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I have palpitation when it comes to massive lecture theatres, because I get overwhelmed and you feel like a fish out of water, because it's like too many students in one room and you don't really get time for the tutor or one-on-one. You don't really get to know about the course as such, whereas we have class sizes up to 15. And I feel that's one thing that I really, really like about UA92 is that the class sizes are smaller and you can start in September, November or January, which is absolutely great.
So how do you find the teaching methods then? Like, could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I find the teaching methods, for me personally, because obviously I've got ADHD, and I find the teaching method a lot easier, more straightforward. It's smaller class sizes. The tutors are amazing. Lawrence and Christine, they explain what we're doing. They put us in small little groups. They teach the lesson. They talk about it, and they keep on asking us for help. And we go out in small breakout sizes, which is really, really good, like in the deck. And I think the teaching for me is structured, where we are not in like high school. We're not in like traditional university. It's like for me, it's like a real life working environment, because they're giving us all experience as well as teaching us, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And what do you think of the campus?
I love the campus. I love the campus. I felt like, for me, before I came in, it's like an empty campus, but when we started, the media studio is absolutely amazing. If you haven't checked it out already, I done a morning grind show, the morning grind, the morning grind. So we've got a media lab in the UA92, and I done a morning grind show, which is absolutely amazing. There's a performance hub there, which is really, really great for the sports science, and TAC have the amazing brownies. That's one thing I'm missing, is TAC brownies.
I forgot about that, yeah. You have to
So,
try and
Bobby,
make
what
your
about you? What do you enjoy?
What, the campus?
Yeah.
I just like the breakout space because we can, on our course, we'll like learn how to, use the recording equipment, and then say Lawrence or Christine will set us off to have a play with it, try and get used to it. And that time is how you really consolidate your learning and like understanding of the equipment, which has been useful, hasn't it? Do you not think?
Yeah, I feel like it has been useful because I knew I always wanted to go in there being a presenter, and sometimes it gives you different experiences. For example, if the producer's not here, you've got to sometimes do both in a way. Whereas you got to do like the auto cue yourself, so it's giving us different experiences, and I felt like it's just a fun environment to be in because you get to meet other people, industry insiders, and one thing I really like is you get to know the staff on a personal level. So when you're walking in, you see Georgina and everyone. Hey Abs, hey Abs, hey Abs. But for me, maybe I'm from Manchester and I'm from Stretford. But what is it like being a student in Manchester for you, like coming over?
It was a massive jump for me, to be honest, because like Hull's not big at all. Like
Oh, I
it's
know
a
that.
really small city. But going to Manchester is such a big jump for me, and I was quite intimidated at first because it's not just Manchester, is it? Like there's all the areas around. Like I've visited Chorlton and Sale, and I've still got loads of places to discover. Like when I first started, I was going to all of the football grounds to try and inform myself of the area, which was like it was helpful. But yeah, no, I'm used to it now. And it's nice to kind of have experience living in a big city because like I wish I was still there now. I would have actually stayed there for the summer, but obviously lockdown. But yeah, it's been quite an experience, and there's obviously so many opportunities right on your doorstep, which has been unbelievable, really. I think we'll continue to profit from that in the next few years. How about you?
I think for me, obviously, I'm from Manchester, and I felt like being a student at UA92 is so different to any other university because I've had that experience. I feel like UA92, you get that real essence of like a student life, whereas you're working, you're a student, but then at the same time, you're getting those experiences and those tools around you because there's a really, really great like network link. As you said, like the trams are right outside it. It's easy, accessible. For me, obviously, I'm a student from Manchester. And I like taking like people who aren't from Manchester, who are new to like to new places. Like went to Home. Do you remember Home on First Street?
Oh yeah, I love them. Yeah.
So I like bringing students to like new experiences, new places to check it out. And so you know what, Manchester is a really, really good, diverse place, and it's for me, it's one of the best places for students to study.
Yeah, you meet so many interesting people as well, you know what I mean? And it's really good for networking, because that's something else my coach
Yeah.
has helped me with, connect me to people.
And what's it like being at student halls, accommodation?
Oh, the accommodation's really nice, yeah. It's not your typical kind of student halls. It's more your own apartment. I think they're going to touch on it later, but it's actually a really good point in the current situation with coronavirus because it means that you're not sharing living space, which is obviously good for social distancing measures, which means that we can like continue really.
And like you said, it's not communal. And you get to see other students, or do you get to do like any other fun activities during like while being at student accommodation West Point? How far is it, the links?
The links, what do you mean between?
Yeah,
What,
like from the trams.
there in uni? Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
either it's a 15-minute walk, but if you're feeling lazy, it's like 5 minutes on the tram, the Metro link. So
Probably always a tram.
well, I don't. It's too much money. It'd add up, Like when it's raining, I get the tram.
And I felt like for me, like during lockdown and during like UA92, apart from being a student, they offer different things where they have a well-being service. We both access that, and I feel like just sometimes speaking to someone who's not a tutor on your course is so good, and to get that help as well. So I feel like everyone really cares about your well-being, and that's one thing I've emphasized. I think I've realized about UA92, they care about your well-being, they care about the values, and they care about the student as a whole, and the staff really do care. Have you got that as well?
Well, yeah, I do feel like that. Like everyone knows everyone's name, and like I know it sounds really trivial, but do you know what I mean? Because at a normal university, they might just see a number. Yeah, no, that's been really nice, and you can always go to your tutor for questions, can't you? Do you not think? Like, have you ever like had an experience where you've struggled with something and you've got kind of immediate help because you can just go to them and talk to them?
Yeah, so I was struggling with one assignment, and the laureate just explained to me like, "Oh, this is how it goes." So I was getting frustrated, and like, it was Lawrence and Christine helped me because I found coding really hard and difficult, and I was getting frustrated, because it was getting too much for me. But then Lawrence and Christine explained to me like how it works and so immediately they helped me, and eventually I got the hang of it.
Yeah.
But I got the hang of it. I think for me, coding was really hard, but sometimes it's about testing sometimes about going out your comfort zone.
Yeah, it's kind of giving you that kind of diverse array of skills, isn't it? Because
yeah,
I never thought we'd learn something like coding on a journalism course, but obviously a lot of journalists are freelance nowadays, so to make your own website is quite a skill to behold, if you know what I mean.
Bobby found it easy, which is great. Like, she got the hang of it straight away, whereas me. But I think for me, everyone has their own abilities, and I think the tutors really support that. And if you see someone struggling, one thing I realize is the class do help. Like Emily Hogg, you've helped me before, Bobby, when I was struggling on the websites, the images I was struggling with. I think like everybody helps everybody on the course, which is really I think we're all like one big family. As a cheesy, it may sound like everyone really cares about everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're just waiting on Gary, aren't we? I don't know how long. Oh, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm just thought I'd ask you about your highlights on the course so far. Like what you know, because you touched on coding, what else have you learned, like skill wise, on the journalism course that might be of use to people thinking about joining?
I think the highlights for me on the journalism course is opportunities. The guest lectures that we have come in, we've all had different opportunities, and I think for me the highlights have been Mandy coming in, Kevin Palmer coming in. We've had different opportunities, and one highlight for me was got loads of highlights. Meeting John Basher, obviously. That's one of the highlights for me. And meeting you guys. I met your mum as well, so that's a highlight for me. And I think for me, I got to know a bit more about Hull City, which I'm still not a fan of. I had this whole obsession with tigers. So I got to know other students, like lifestyles and what they like. And I got to know other people about how understand different people's backgrounds and everything. How about you, Bobby?
What on the course?
Yeah, in general, like the course, in general, like UA92 experience.
And probably similar, like meeting people and kind of getting experience already in my first year. Like I didn't think, you know, we'd kind of get so much experience already. But I'm just going to wrap it up there, because I'm going to introduce everyone to our Director of Student Affairs, Gareth Smith, and he's going to tell you more about our game-changing approach.
Thanks very much, Bobby and Abs. Great to hear from you both there. Obviously I'm not Gary Neville. We're going to have Gary coming on shortly for you all, but that was a great session with Bobby and Abs in hearing directly from them about what life's like at UA92. Obviously, with this being a virtual open day, sadly we can't kind of welcome you to campus today. But what we've got, as they talked about, is we've got a brand new kind of state-of-the-art campus. We teach in those small groups that Bobby and Abs were talking about. There's no big kind of cramped lecture theatres, which particularly in this time right now with kind of social distancing and everything means that there's kind of no worries about what can be done. It's essentially a campus that's designed to hold thousands of students, and be it whether you're looking at joining in September 2020 or September 21, it's going to have hundreds of students rather than the thousands that it's designed for. But rather than me talking anymore, what I'm going to do is show you now a quick video of kind of UA92's campus. Apologies, all the sound didn't play on that, but we'll make sure we send you all the link so that you can see that with sound in the future. And so make sure we send that round to everyone who's attended today. So I think we've got a problem there with our slides. My apologies, everybody, will be with you in a minute. Okay, and that's the slide. So in terms of UA92, we're a unique institution. So founded by the class of 92. So you're going to hear from Gary shortly, but also Phil Neville, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes and Mickey Butt, clearly our founders, and based around that kind of ethos of what they learn as players. It's not just the kind of talent they had on the pitch, but that kind of determination that goes on. And Gary will be joining us in about 15 minutes to talk to you more about that. Our other partners are Lancaster University, so a top 10 university. I think they're number 8 in the Complete University Guide, which was published last week. And they're very well internationally renowned. And so they've come in with us as part of this to form UA92. And the final bit is our partners. And you're going to hear from Justin at Microsoft and a number of other partners later today. And they're core to it as well. A lot of universities just kind of focus on the kind of academic aspects of it. But what we've done is we've taken that kind of strong academic pinning from Lancaster University and combined it with the real world experience of our partners and that determination and ethos instilled in the class of 92 by Sir Alex Ferguson to bring together the proposition that is University Academy 92. And I mentioned Lancaster University, and all our degrees are awarded by Lancaster University. So you might think you're coming to UA92, you're coming to a brand new institution, which you are, but you get that kudos of getting a Lancaster University degree recognised kind of across the UK, but equally right across the world. And it's the same for any of you that are interested in studying our certificates in higher education. So you get a certificate in higher education from Lancaster University. And then if you start on Cert HE, you really like it, you do that 1 year, you can then progress straight on. And after a further 2 years, you'd end up with a degree from Lancaster University. And a key bit about where UA92 is different is that in a lot of normal universities, you just focus on the kind of academic. You might get your degree in business, but what you've done is you've never really focused on the broader business world. What we've done is we've put character development at the kind of heart of all that we do. And what it means is that our students have these separate modules, a bit you'll have heard about hopefully from Bobby and Abs earlier, where they look at things like resilience, communication, their digital skills. Because absolutely what it is at UA92 is you don't just kind of learn and then go into the workplace. The idea is joining UA92 is it's the first step on your career. You heard from Bobby, she's been getting bylines this year, and lots of our students on that journalism course have been doing. Our PE and sports science students are out there kind of in the real world helping coach young people. And so that's all of that practical experience. It's not just the kind of theory that you get elsewhere. But obviously surrounding that is that very broad kind of academic discipline to make sure that you get that full understanding of all that comes with our degrees. The key bit is that we're industry led. We haven't designed all of our courses just because we think they might be a good idea. What we've done is we've spoken to and listened to industry to design our courses. So if I take our computer science course, which is new for this September, we've worked closely with both Microsoft and Accommodation to really kind of focus on what are the skills they need. And it's almost more of a kind of software engineering course where you learn an awful lot about coding at the start, front end those skills so that you've got the kind of practical knowledge to build around it. So that those are absolutely the skills that Accommodation and Microsoft are looking for in graduates that are joining them. Likewise, you can see one of our partners, KPMG, our accounting students have been going across and working with KPMG on a regular basis, both visiting their premises in Manchester, but equally having guest speakers coming in from KPMG to kind of set real world challenges for our students so they kind of understand what it is to be kind of accountants rather than just, oh, here's accountancy, I'm going to learn it from a book. They get that real world experience right from the very start of the degree. And with our business students, they obviously again look at kind of real business problems, but rather than that theoretical, they went and learned about ticketing and the way that ticketing works, and where better to learn it from than go to Manchester United and speak to the head of ticketing at Manchester United about what it's like to try and kind of fill Old Trafford and how that's going to work kind of for all the matches that run across the year. That practical experience and that kind of industry-led approach is what really sets UA92 apart from other institutions. In addition to that focus on kind of industry, what's different about the way that we work is that one module at a time. So in a lot of universities, you'd be learning 3 or 6 modules at a time whilst you're at university. And then it might be you're not assessed on those until the end of the academic year, or in some institutions, you'll learn something on your first day at university, and then 3 years later, you've got a big end of year exam around it. What we've got is no big end of year exams at UA92. Typically, what you've got is that all our modules work that you've got an assessment, you've got one module at a time, you've got one assessment after week 3, it might be a group presentation, or you might, as a journalism student, write an article, or if you're on our PE courses, it might be an assessment of kind of your micro coaching, of coaching either your fellow students or some people in local schools. The other benefit of this is that you study kind of one module at a time, kind of from either the morning, so you're on 9 till 1, or the afternoon in terms of 2 till 6, and you've got that multiple start dates, what we've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause back there, and I'm going to hand over to Bobby, who will introduce you to Gary Neville, and then I'll come back and finish the rest of this shortly. So back to you, Bobby.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Sorry about the mix-up in times, everyone. So now I would like to welcome UA92 co-founder, businessman, media pundit and member of the class of 92, Gary Neville. Hi, Gary. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Am I late?
It's just been a mix in times, I think. It's fine.
Okay, sorry, everybody.
It just looks like we clickbaited everyone, that's all. Everyone's, Gary Neville's here and it's just me and Abs talking. Well, I'm going to ask you a few questions if that's all right with you.
Please fire away.
All right, so the first one, and it's a big one. So what inspired the initial idea for UA92? And can you tell us about any particular experiences you might have had during your time in the class of 92 that you did draw upon when developing UA92?
Yeah, I think we felt that obviously when we finished playing football that we wanted to try and enter into projects together. So that was the first decision we made. Me 10 years ago, Ryan and Paul retired a little bit after me. And we wanted to do things together. And I think obviously we were made famous by the fact that we were given opportunity as young people to play in Manchester United's first team. We obviously had a level of skill and ability, which I believe everybody in the world has. But I believe that in that period of sort of 16 to 20, our characters and our personalities were developed. We became more resilient and more robust as individuals to be able to cope with what was going to come to us in our lives. And I felt that when we finished our football career and went into coaching, there was this perception that young people weren't as tough nowadays as they were 20 years ago. I think it's something that you sometimes hear from maybe our generation or an older generation. And we didn't believe that. We felt as though coaches, teachers, parents needed to change. We obviously know it's a different generation. It's more immediate. It's faster, it's quicker, more agile. We know that you're not going to stay in the same job potentially for the next 30, 40 years. People are going to want changes. And we thought that conventional university, which obviously has been successful and still is successful, we just felt it didn't really mirror what you were going to enter into as you went into employment. And we felt that character and a resilient personality and character can be taught. And we thought that should really be at the heart of an education. I just heard Gareth there talk about no exams. The idea that you work for 3 years or a whole year and then you have this big exam at the end, and if you don't do well in it, you fail, just seems to me really prehistoric. It feels to me like something that doesn't exist in real life. You know, you get judged over a body of work, over a period of time that you've done. And this idea of this big pressure point, and we know that there'll be moments in your life where you'll have to face some type of pressure, but we just feel that in terms of the way in which life is nowadays, it's quick enough as it is, it's pressurized enough as it is. The idea that you can sort of move through your work and build your competencies and log them and, you know, do your work in a controlled manner, but ultimately not just be judged on this one big day. The idea that when you go into work, you have a system, you go to work from 9 till 5 or 10 till 4 or whatever it may be, and then you go to conventional university and you've been used to being at school from 4 to 18 where you're there every single day at a certain time. And then conventional university takes you into this really erratic timetable where you don't know what you're doing. And again, we just felt that jarred against really building resilience and, you know, the right sort of principles and values. We believe in hard work. We think people should work hard. Everybody should work hard. I believe I should work hard. I believe you should work hard. It's the foundation of everything that we do. And I'm not sure that conventional university promotes that in the sense that you 1 hour one day, 2 hours the next, 1 hour the next, and you sort of don't know whether you're coming or going really. So there are a number of different ideas behind our university. That's my alarm telling me I should be on here. There's a number of different things that we've done differently. We want to try and disrupt and sort of build something that's our own. We know it's the embryonic stages, but we've got an incredible university partner in Lancaster. We've got a fantastic campus. Obviously, you're part of our first cohort of students from last year, and we're really excited about what it holds in the future.
Well, as a first year student, I've already had experience working with the industry partners you'd mentioned. And why do you think this is so important for students when entering their career?
We thought it was important to link to industry because we wanted it to be an employer-led university. We believe, obviously, in academia. Academia's got a huge part to play. Our professors at UA92, Lancaster University, a top 10 university in this country, obviously play a huge part in building the curriculum. But what you find is that when you go into employment, you're going into mainly the private sector where, you know, you'll find the best sports scientists in the world will be in the private sector, in football clubs or in athletics or in other sports. And we wanted to make sure that we had that link to the best in class in business, the best in class in sports science, and make sure that we infiltrated the academic program with what would be employer ideas, employment ideas, because that's where everyone's going to end up. All of our graduates are going to end up in employment. They're going to end up working in industry, and we feel as though that really is that bridge. You've had enough of academia really on its own from 4 to 18. What you really need from 18 to 21 is something that bridges academia with employment and really puts employment at the heart of it, because that's when you're going into a point whereby you're out there in the world to, you know, fend for yourself. The gloves are off. Everybody's fighting for a job. Everybody's fighting for an existence, and we believe that that really should be brought in at an earlier point, sort of at a university, rather than waiting until after you finish university. I
can really echo what you said there, because in my previous experience in education, like I've learned so much in this year, this first year, setting foot in actual businesses than I have just kind of learning through it theoretically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And moving on from that, what is your number one piece of advice to someone aspiring to achieve their dream career?
Really, really simple. Get up every single day. You may have heard me say this before. You have a choice to make whether you're going to work as hard as you can and you don't give in. That's it. So every single day you wake up and you do your very, very best and you don't give in whatever happens. So if you have a good day, don't get carried away, come back the day after, wake up, make that same decision that you're going to do your very best again. If you have a bad day, don't get too down about it, wake up the next day. And that is it's actually, seems really simple, but that's actually really tough to achieve over a long period of time. Just to keep those really simple thoughts in your mind. Life's really fast. There is a lot of influences. And ultimately, you've got lots of different people telling you different things. Obviously, you have to make choices on what information you want to take in or not take in. But if you keep that foundation of hard work at the core of what you are, you will be employed. You'll become employable because employers are looking for hardworking, honest individuals with integrity. That's what they're looking for. A little bit less talent, a little bit less skill, I can live with as an employer in my businesses. Anybody can. But what people can't, what employers can't live with is a lack of commitment and a lack of desire to want to do well. So you must do that every single day.
Well, it's funny you said don't give in, because it actually reminded me of something we covered on the Target Talent curriculum, which was resilience. I was just wondering if you could tell us more about the idea behind that and why you think that's an important part of the UA92 curriculum.
I think it's so important in life. We're now a lot more aware of mental health. 25 years ago, you were told to effectively man up, get on with it, stop being soft. That's not good enough anymore. We have to develop a coping mechanism to be able to come through things. I did as a football player. And resilience is not essentially this idea that you're this really tough individual who has to speak out. You can be quiet and resilient. You can be humorous and resilient. You can be anything and resilient. The idea that you're just able to cope, not just with failure or disappointment, but success and things that happen in your life that are good as well. Because some people get carried away by success. Some people get too disappointed and down by disappointment. And resilience is making sure that you're just level-headed and you're grounded and you're able to cope with the ups and downs that hit you during your career and your life. And that's going to happen. You are going to have bad days. You're going to have bad months. You're going to have issues at home. You're going to have issues at work. You're going to have social problems with your friend. You're going to have great days and great moments and great holidays where you don't want to come back to work, but you have to come back to work. So all these ups and downs that occur in normal life really do need to be compartmentalized in a sense that they're just a normal thing. Don't get too down on yourself when things are bad, because did you expect you were going to live for 75 years and it was all going to be good? That's the thing that that's my coping mechanism, actually. If I have a bad day, I just ask myself the question, did you think you were going to have the perfect day every day all your life? Well, the answer is no. So once you say the answer is no, then you accept that this is just one of those days that isn't as good as the ones that I've had previously. And you can then move on, hopefully compartmentalize it, put it into a box. And whatever your coping mechanism is. So how I used to handle pressure at Manchester United, if I was playing in a game that was really difficult for me, it was really big. Let's say we were playing Liverpool or Manchester City in a huge game. I know it sounds really crazy, this, but I would tell myself that 3 hours after the match, I would be sat at home having a Chinese takeaway, because that's what I did after a game. And irrespective of whether I played well, didn't play well, gave a goal away, scored a goal, which wasn't very often, that I knew that I'd still be at home later on, having something to eat, in my chair, relaxed, watching television. And that calmed me down. And it made me realise that actually all I was doing was going into an environment for an hour and a half, playing football, and I was going to come out of it. And we'll have moments like that in our lives, whether it's your driving test, whether it's some sort of waiting for your results, or whether it be a wedding day or a big party that you're going to, or a speech you have to make, or interviewing somebody, a moment that makes you just feel a little bit, your stomach's churning a little bit. The way in which to calm yourself down is to breathe, and also to think of something normal that you're going to be doing in a few hours. That's how I coped with sort of things. So resilience is not really rocket science. It's about simple simple thoughts that bring you back to a normal existence and make you feel that, okay, this is normal.
Well, you touched upon the downs there in your career. And I was wondering if you had any specific examples of overcoming adversity during either your media or football career, and how did you keep motivated to succeed?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Valencia, where I was publicly humiliated for 4 months, took a job I shouldn't have taken. Again, just by those simple thoughts, you know, why am I failing? Why am I having a tough time? Why am I struggling here? And if you're aware, and one of our principles at UA92 is self-analysis. Why am I struggling at Valencia? I don't speak the language. I don't understand the culture. I'm not qualified enough to do this job. I'm not experienced enough. The players are in a difficult moment. The other coaches are better than me. They were. So all these things are self-aware, self-analysis. That's not being down on myself. That's just me understanding where I am in my life at that moment in time. And, you know, coming through adversity sometimes is about making sure that you just analyze what's happening. You think about what's happening and you say, right, okay. And actually the only thing sometimes that can pull you out of adversity is time. So you've got to be patient. You just got to let things pass. You know, adversity can be something. I lost my father 5 years ago, and that was never going to heal in 10 minutes or 10 days. That was going to take time, and those moments will happen in our lives, and it's not very easy, and we suffer. But you come through it through just time and understanding that other people go through worse experiences than I go through. Say, for instance, by losing my father 5 years ago, I shared 40 years of my life with him. There are some, you know, children who don't share their experiences at all with their parents, and you have to put things into perspective, you know, and think about what, you know, you are in your life and what maybe suffering other people are suffering. Whichever way it is to get through it, you always have to put things into perspective, analyze where you're at, and then sometimes just be patient and take your time. But always at the core of it, never forget that hard work principle. Because if you carry on working hard and you carry on getting up every day, that is the thing that will pull you out of it. You know, you hear people say sometimes, I've got to get back to work. You've got to get back to work to keep things normal. That is it's almost like a reset. You know, it's how you reset. It's where you don't feel like you can go to work and you don't feel like you can speak to people and you don't feel like you can get up in the morning. That's where you really do need to seek help. And there have been, you know, I've had teammates at Manchester United who felt like that, and they've needed to be brave enough to go and seek help and, you know, ask for help. And we shouldn't be worried about that. There were a couple of times at Manchester United where we had a psychologist, and I went to see them. I have no problem with it. It was that something there that we helped. That was one of the reasons we put the bespoke one-to-one coaching in, you know, the mentoring program, you know, at the end of each month at UA92, because we wanted, you go to university, you're just expected to survive. You're expected to just basically get on with it. That's not right. You need coaching, you need mentoring, you need looking after, you need advice, you need pulling back on track, and sometimes maybe a stern word because things aren't going, you know, you maybe have slacked off a little bit. We need those words from our parents, from our coaches, from our teachers, from our professors, from our bosses. We need, obviously, empathy, but we also sometimes need that element of, you know, redirecting back to where you should be and getting back in your lane.
Well, you mentioned the coaching and why that's important for people to seek guidance. Did that inform the idea of coaches at University Academy 92?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, you know, every single month at Manchester United, from the age of 16 through to 21, when we got in the first team, we would have a one-on-one with our coach once a month. It doesn't need to be every week. Once a month. What have we done this month? How have we performed? How have we done? What we're going to do next month? How can we build on what we've done that's good already? How can we improve certain parts? Any problems that you may have, that is the idea behind it, that you have contact. You cannot get through life without contact and good advice. You need to make sure you have, you know, I was very fortunate that I had good advice from the age of 16 to 20, and obviously from my parents growing up. And we rely upon this to guide us, to shape us. The idea that you don't get advice, that you're just allowed to veer where you want and do what you want, that's not how, you know, that's not going to help young people. They do need that sounding board. Yeah, I do believe in independent thinking. I believe that young people, whether it be my children at the age of 10 and 11, should make their own decisions wherever possible. But I also believe sometimes they need guidance and support and help and empathy and making sure that the sort of principles and experience that we have built, that we do hand it over. I was the same at football when I used to have a young player coming into the first team. You make sure they have the good work ethic. That's the first and foremost, that we don't compromise on attitude and work ethic, but you also guide them and help them and make sure you try and shape their careers so that they understand that.
Well, moving on from, obviously previous work, and obviously my coach has helped me plan things, for this summer, which have all been written off now because of the lockdown, which no one could predict. I was wondering how you found working remotely during lockdown, and could you tell us a little bit more about what you've been doing?
Yeah, I found it difficult at times because I live off adrenaline. I live off getting up every morning and getting into the office and doing things and traveling to football matches. Last night was the first time that I've travelled to London in 3.5 months, and went down to London yesterday to the Tottenham Manchester United game, and it felt a little bit back to normal, even though it wasn't very normal in the stadium because there was no fans in there. But have I frozen now? Is it you, Bobby? It's okay. Yeah. Okay. I found it difficult in terms of working remotely from a point of view. I've always been on these Zoom calls. There isn't anything better than interaction face to face, making sure that you can, see people. That is one of the best things in life, the ability to be able to see people and interact with people. This will never replace it, even though I think we've adapted very well. So I have found it difficult, the idea that I've not been able to, be across from people, do the things, the freedoms that we've had taken away from us all in this last 3 or 4 months have been a unique experience. And I think everybody's found it tough. I said a couple of weeks ago, you felt like you wake up and your head's hurting some days, and the next day you feel a little bit low, and the next day you feel like you're okay again. And everybody's probably felt the same, this sort of wave of emotion over this last few months of what is this that's happening? But then you think to yourself, well, my grandparents lived through a world war, and they told us the stories of, my grandfather going there and my nan being at home for 5 years and not able to go out, and rations. And you think, okay, this is not that bad. We've actually got it okay. So again, perspective's quite important, but I've not enjoyed it. I don't know how anybody could have enjoyed it personally, but yeah, you get to see your family a little bit more, but that's nice. But on the other hand, we're deprived of our freedoms and our work and what we do every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And this will certainly make history, a bit similar to the war, obviously different circumstances, but
yeah,
it's going to be something I'll tell the grandkids. And I was just wondering if you had a certain piece of advice you could give people my age, young people, just to kind of keep motivated during the lockdown and kind of pursue the goals.
Yeah. What I would say is be influenced by the people who really care about you and really look after you and what your best interests at heart. Try and remove all of the distractions and influences that basically you feel and see in your life. I feel that nowadays, with certainly social media, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it may be, there's thousands of these things. And I think in moderation, they can be used successfully. And I think that there's no doubt that we have a new age of media, which you understand, Bobby, obviously. And we shouldn't shy away from it. And we shouldn't say my day it was better, but make sure you control that element of your life. Make sure that you're influenced still by your parents, your teachers, your coaches, the people who really are sort of what will be close to you. Try not to be influenced too much by everything that you see and everything that you read, because it's just too much. And going back to that simple work ethic of before, the work ethic point of before, never lose sight of that. That is the most important thing. The commitment to get up every single day and do your very best is the single most important thing that you can have in your life when it comes to your professional career. It is the single most important thing. You will make a mistake. You will not do a piece of work well. You will have a bad interview. You will have a bad game of football. You will do a bad job at some point. Don't worry about that. That's going to happen. Make sure that doesn't impact you and you wake up the next day and go for it again.
Well, moving on from other people's careers, I want to hear about your career, and it's quite a big question, this one. I want to know what your biggest achievement, if you can pick one, would be in your career so far, and why is that one?
My biggest achievement, if I had to say, it's not a single football match, it would be longevity. So the idea of staying at Manchester United from 16 to 36 for 20 years, every single day, going in, being given new contracts, the idea that for 20 years I was kept at the club. So that to me is my biggest achievement, that Sir Alex, the coaches, saw something in me to retain me at the club all those years. And that is my greatest achievement, that I do believe I gave my best. My dad said to me on the eve of my first day of going there, don't have any regrets. Don't be sat in a pub in 5 years thinking, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd worked harder. I wish I'd got up and done more. I wish I'd done this. And I've not got any regrets about my football career. I didn't always play good games. I didn't always score goals. Didn't always do fantastic things. We lost matches. But I have to say longevity is the most important thing in your life. If you're 21 years of age and you're graduating from university, or 24 years of age, or wherever you are, you've got 40, 50 years of work. When you get to that age of 65, 70, and you've worked those 50 years as hard as you can every single day, that is an incredible achievement. And that doesn't mean to say you're not going to have a down day or an off day or a day off. You can have those moments where you don't feel great. But the idea that you can put a body of work together over a long period of time is real success. And that's what, when I got into the first team at United at the age of 18, I used to look at Brian Robson, Steve Bruce, Peter Schmeichel, Eric Cantona, and think, they're 33. They've been doing this for 15, 16, 17 years. Just like now, if you look at sort of what would be the great journalists or the great broadcasters, they've been doing it for 30 years. That's a long time to think that you're going to have to basically work hard every single day for 30 years to get to where they are. And that's the greatest achievement, I believe, is to do that for over a long period of time and maintain your work ethic and your levels of passion and motivation.
Well, we're going back to resilience there, aren't we? And again, it's so important, as a young student, kind of to have that skill, because I'm informed from people that I've met in the industry, and hearing from their experiences, it informs me of whether to want to go down that route. Because like you say, I think we underestimate how long we're going to be in the career for, because obviously the working age is only getting higher. So, and I just wanted to touch back on the university, and I was wondering whether you had an image in your head when you started planning UA92, and what has changed throughout the development of the uni, and which parts are as you imagined.
What's changed? I don't know. I mean, the original concept idea on that simple one page is still there. The principles still there. The values are still there. Obviously, I knew that the idea would be taken by Lancaster University, by obviously the professors that we have at UA92, by other people, and it would be developed into something that would sort of transform. But I still believe the values and principles are there. I still think that really UA92 should be about having that. We mentioned resilience a lot, but we shouldn't forget the word enjoyment. You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to be passionate about what you're doing, and there should be a real energy about what you do in your life, and not fun. You should enjoy it. I never found football fun. Football to me was serious. Journalism, media, business is serious. It's a serious business. It's not something that's fun. It's enjoyable if you work hard and you're successful at it and you do your very best. So I think that for me, there's an energy around UA92. There's a vibrancy. That's what it always has to be. There has to be something that feels like it's different, and that energy maintains, people sort of feeling that they want to be in there every single day. So I would say that the values and principles still stand. I think that over the next, 3, 6, 12, 18 months, it will only get stronger in terms of the industry partners, the private sector partnerships that we'll be developing, and making sure that we expose our students to the best in class environments that they're going to end up in, hopefully, when they gain employment and graduate.
Well, it sounds like, you've got some really exciting things planned, and I can echo that as a student, that I am really enjoying it. I don't have to be resilient to get up every morning and go to uni. We've just had an anonymous attendee who sent in a question, and I forgot to mention that if you've got any questions, you can use the Q&A box. So he said, "Hi Gary, how do you anticipate this pandemic and subsequent economic risk Man United and regular clubs, my club Hull City, or like Bury, for example, which obviously gone under?"
So, I lost you for the middle part of the question, Bobby.
All right, Untitled. So basically, how do you think the lockdown and coronavirus and the economic recession afterwards, how do you think that's going to affect the big gap between mega rich football clubs and, say, clubs in the FL?
I mean, I think Manchester United, it was announced, I think 2 weeks ago, had borrowed £140 million of their debt facility. I was at Tottenham last night. They've borrowed £175 million. The clubs are, Everton, I'm going there tomorrow night. They've cut their wages by 50%. Everybody is affected and impacted by this from an economic point of view. It's obviously been a health crisis, but it's an economic crisis as well. And the economic crisis has only just begun, really. That's something that's going to go on for a couple of years. And, the government have obviously put some measures in place that have supported employees, employers over the last 6 months. But when the world starts to sort of release from lockdown, which is obviously happening at the moment, I do fear a little bit for football, but for also the other sectors. Are people going to fly as much? So you think about the airline industry. I mean, hospitality, we've got hotels, and the idea, are people going to really travel as much and go to hotels, to restaurants and bars? You've obviously got the social distancing. You just got so many different industries that are going to be impacted by this virus economically, and we're going to have to knuckle down and dig in. Simple as that. We're all going to have to knuckle down, dig in, work as hard as we can, do whatever we can, understanding that in hopefully 18 months, 2 years, we'll be back out of it again. That's the one ray of hope that I have. I know we'll come out of it. I know we'll be normal again. I know that things will be back to sort of the fact that, coronavirus and this lockdown will start to fade from our minds. Not the fact that obviously we lost so many lives, that should never fade from our minds, but the idea of the economic problems hopefully will fade away as quicker than we all think at this moment in time. But I think it is going to be painful.
And just another one on the back of that. Obviously, all games are behind closed doors now, and there's a few clubs lower down that have actually had to part ways with the players because they haven't agreed contract extensions. Toby Bett asked, for youth players at football clubs, do you think this is a big opportunity for them to break through into the first team?
I think younger players will be given more of a chance. I think because the funds just are not there to sign new players, transfer players. I do think that all clubs they will be looking at more efficient ways to get their wage bills down, and one of those ways is obviously to get younger players into the first team. I know all the clubs in around League 1 and 2 will be cutting their budgets by 25-30% next season, maybe more at certain clubs, might be up to 50%, which is obviously a huge chunk out of the budgets. And but clubs have to do it. There are no fans in the stadium, there is no income. The lifeblood of football clubs is the match day income from fans in the lower leagues, not in the higher leagues. You obviously got the broadcast money in the Premier League, but in the lower leagues, the lifeblood is the match day income, and there is no match day income for the foreseeable future. The season won't even start till September. The season tickets can't be sold unless some clubs could sell them, but what are they promising? What are fans buying? We don't know when football's going to return to normal with fans in the stadium. So there's a real uncertainty for lower league clubs, and that's something that we all, as football fans, need to be aware of, that our clubs need support.
Well, on the back of that, and you speak about the finances, someone's asked the question about Manchester United in particular. So Seth has said there are mixed opinions about the Glazers' management of the club, and given the financial situation they're in, are you confident of the future of Man United and that they're in safe hands?
Manchester United, to be fair, have a resilient sort of revenue base through their commercial partners. Their commercial partners are stronger as a revenue source than their match day income. So you've obviously got, I would imagine 3 or 4 main sources of income at Manchester United. It's a real monster of a football club when it comes to what the revenue they can generate. Commercial, match day, obviously, which will be impacted. But then also they've got the broadcast revenues as well, which, Sky are looking, and the other broadcasters, because football's back on the television now, they can continue to pay. So that ultimately 2 out of the 3 main revenue streams should still be strong for United, which will mean that they'll come out of it, I would think, reasonably well. I think that ultimately the Glazer family, from an economic point of view, whilst they've obviously leveraged the club You know, from a revenue point of view and profit point of view, they've always, you know, kept the club in a pretty healthy position. Whether it's enough for fans to satisfy fans by the fact that obviously more money could be going into players than into servicing debt. But you can't just force change ownership in football. It's we live in a democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. Some of the points you covered will probably be covered on the business course once everyone returns. You know, it shows how everything links together. I'm now just going to move on to some quick fire questions. So,
Okay.
quick answers and just a few odd questions. So I'll start with just your basic ones. So firstly, cats or dogs?
I don't have pets. Dogs.
You don't seem very enthusiastic about that
No,
one.
I'm not a pet fan. But anyway, dogs.
Summer or winter?
Winter.
All right. That's a surprising one.
Mountain. I love the I love skiing. So I was just thinking about the mountain
right.
and snow.
All right. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Most annoying teammate ever?
Who?
Most annoying teammate ever?
Oh, David May.
Favorite pundit on Sky Sports, and it can't be yourself.
Graham Souness.
And finally, favorite championship side?
Championship.
Yeah.
Oh.
I can hint because
Hull.
yeah.
It's not a
I'm
hint.
saving that forever now. I don't care. I could set it as my ringtone. Well, that's everything really. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of today's football matches, and I really thank you for joining.
Thank you. Sorry, I was a
on
little
this
bit late,
virtual open
everybody.
day.
If I was late, sorry. Thank you.
It's fine. It's okay. Thanks for speaking.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Bobby. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank
See you
you.
later.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Wasn't that great? So thank you very much to Gary Neville. And we're just going to take a short break now, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hi everybody, welcome back. Well, that was a great session with Bobby and Gary there. Despite Bobby's efforts, Gary didn't go for Nottingham Forest being the best championship side, which is obviously the correct answer, but that was a tremendous session. Hopefully we all learned a lot from it. So picking up, hopefully most of you were there earlier when I was talking about this, but I'm just going to recap slightly. So the key bits for UA92 is the study at one module at a time and the no end of year exams. And the benefit of studying in the morning or the afternoon means you know your timetable. In most institutions, it changes from week to week or semester to semester or certainly year to year. At UA92, if you start off as a morning student, you're going to be a morning student the whole way through your time at UA92. If you start off as an afternoon student, you're going to be an afternoon student the whole time that you're at UA92. But rather than talking more about it, what I'm going to show you is a quick video which explains a little bit more about our approach. Okay, so then if you look at the way we structure our kind of academic year, we've got kind of real benefits. So we mentioned the 9 till 1 approach that you've got, or the 2 till 6, and this very much this one module at a time. So they're all made up of these 30 credit chunks. The benefit of the 9 till 1 and the 2 till 6 for lots of our students, you heard from Abs earlier, is you can work in the afternoon, but equally you've got the benefits in terms of options in terms of playing sport, all kind of rest of your lives. We've got students with caring responsibilities and all sorts. When we go back, so you can see here, for all our students, they study Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. On a Wednesday, there's no compulsory attendance, so students kind of study from home. And for a lot of our students, they might be playing sport on a Wednesday. So for the first time this year, we're going to have students competing in the British University Colleges and Sports League. And there'll be a few questions from George later, who will touch upon some of our sporting opportunities and that broader student experience. Obviously, this year was slightly different in terms of the way that we had our teaching. But despite kind of what happened with COVID and lockdown, we stuck to this timetable. So our students still had these 4-hour classes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But we delivered them in partnership with Microsoft. And you're going to hear from Justin shortly about our partnership with Microsoft, who are our co-tenants at the UA92 building. So we stuck to these kind of 16 hours a week. And so our plan for September, for those of you looking at joining, is we're absolutely going to stick to what we said we're going to do, but it's going to be a balance between what we can do on campus and what we were going to do remotely. Because clearly what we need to do is look at what can be done safely. It's a really large campus with those wide corridors, but kind of our teaching rooms can't hold as many people as you'd expect normally. So rather than kind of 60 people in one of our big classrooms, we're looking at kind of groups of 15. But what it is no big lecture theatres anyway. These smaller groups will stick to this, but it'll probably be about 8 hours on campus and 8 hours taught, kind of live teaching, but online through Microsoft Teams. And then we'll be reviewing that on a block by block basis. And in terms of our courses, you can probably see them all on our website and live on UCAS. We've got 6 degree programs that we've taught this past academic year: accounting and finance, business studies, journalism, media comms, physical education, and sports and exercise science. But for 2020, we've introduced 2 new courses, computer science in partnership with Microsoft, and our sport management program as well. And on all of these courses, I can see there's been a few queries about entry requirements. What we've got is we've got our degree courses with typical entry of 104 UCAS points, but then we've equally got Cert HE courses with 64 points for entry. And for anybody who doesn't have that, we've got options with access to HE or indeed our Step Forward program as well. So don't think the UA92 is not for you. We've got kind of courses available for everybody from all kinds of backgrounds, be them kind of young 18-year-olds coming out of school or college, or more mature learners. The whole idea is that it's designed to fit in with your kind of skills and requirements. So those new courses there's course taster sessions running later today. So if you want to learn more about our accounting and finance course or any of those courses that are there, please check out the course taster sessions running later today. And the final bit that I want to talk about is just kind of student accommodation. I've talked about how campus will work essentially in a COVID environment, but we know that kind of where you live would be really important as well. Josh will be covering this later in the student experience session in more detail, but we partner with Manchester Apartments to provide really state-of-the-art student accommodation. These are kind of views out of Academy Apartments. If you look in that top right-hand view, you will see just how close it is to campus. That's really looking out the window right across the campus. So it's just a 30-second walk away. And the benefits of all of these are students aren't sharing, they're not all kind of old dormitory style halls of residence. Students all get their own kitchen facilities, they're all en suite, they've all got underfloor heating, absolutely state-of-the-art kind of student experience that you're going to gain from that. But I'll pass over to Josh, who will talk about that more later. So that's all from me about UA92 for now, but it's my great pleasure to hand over now to Justin Welton from Microsoft, who are obviously one of our key partners. Justin, over to you.
Brilliant, thank you, Gareth. I think one of the hardest things to do ever is to follow some great speakers, some great content. I've been on the call since it started this morning, listening to Bobby and Abs, listening to Gary, and listening to Gareth talking about the TTC and the differences that studying at University Academy 92 can actually offer to its students. My name's Justin Walton. I'm an account executive. I work for Microsoft, and I have the privilege and pleasure of managing the relationship between Microsoft and UA92. So I wanted to start off really by just sharing what Microsoft's mission is. I think it's really important. And I think, again, Gary made a comment about sort of getting up every morning and doing your very best work, trying your hardest, and skills is a thing that varies. Microsoft's mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. In lots of organizations, you have missions. It's very hard for people to get behind those. But in Microsoft, we really do understand the value of the world-class software, the devices and the services that we offer. We build them so that organizations like UA92 can put them into practice in their organization to support the missions that they're trying to drive. And I suspect if asked, the mission is to make sure that every UA92 student goes through their education on campus and goes on to fulfill their ambitions and to achieve more. So what we're going to do today, I've got a 15-minute session. I've only got about 12 or so slides. And what I hope to do is give you a little bit of an insight into Microsoft. Lots of people know a small amount about Microsoft. I want to try and enrich your awareness. I may want to make the distinction between the fact that we kind of work closely with UA92. We do coexist in the same campus building. So we have two really nice offices within the same campus building. But actually Microsoft believes that we learn as much from our customers as we're able to teach. And I think it's really important that we can work amongst the students, make ourselves available to the students, and really contribute in terms of things like curriculum, events that are held on campus. And only through doing that, we really understand the sort of value that we can bring for you. I'm going to tell you a few of the specific ways that Microsoft supports UA92 differently. It very much is a partnership. It's not a sort of a commercial arrangement. It's really about how can we drive a disruption in the way that students can study, and how do we support people looking to make that positive disruption. And working in the Northwest, working in Manchester specifically, is a really targeted area. What I hope as somebody later in career is that as a result of this session, it helps you understand how studying or choosing to study at UA92 will really help you formulate your thoughts about making that decision to study, and what the rest of your life may well look like, and how you can achieve those skills through that experience. So I want to just talk about a couple of bits and pieces, really. Sorry, I've just skipped forward a slide. We do have these two offices in the building. We run events such as the National Women in Technology event, which was actually sadly cancelled due to COVID. But our intention over the coming years is that we use UA92 campus as a location for many of these events. These events are typically made available to the students, but also bring in outside industries, bring in different organisations. Certainly people from underserved communities are very much welcomed into technology, and actually really driving that initiative to bring women into technology is a really important thing as well. I think it's also really important, and this has been referenced in a couple of the other sessions, but technology pervades every single job, every single degree program that you take must have a level of digital literacy built into it, and that's something that UA92 can certainly offer through the programs that you can study. So I want to talk about kind of Microsoft, who we are and what we do. We're obviously a global organization. I think certainly in the last 3 to 4 months, one thing's for sure, the world is changing, and it's changing at a real pace. The key thing for all of us is that we're in a position that we're ready to accept and deal with that change and make the most of it. I think in times of adversity, and lots of us are sitting here today, again, Gary mentioned it with lots of the businesses that he's involved in, that there's a level of uncertainty, but it's really important that we recognize that lots of opportunity comes out of adversity as well. And you'll see that looking around your communities, looking at different businesses, changing the model, changing the way that they work. And certainly talking to some of UA92 students over the past couple of months, I can see that people have really been able, probably through some of that coaching relationship and some of the way that they're engaging with UA92, they've been able to sort of get their heads around it, make that shift, and actually start to realize the benefit that some of this remote teaching and learning can actually bring, as well as that personal interaction. It's really about having the right blend. So in terms of the things that Microsoft is best known for, I think if I took a straw poll, most people would say Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel. Of late, you struggle not to see it on the adverts on the TV. There's a platform called Microsoft Teams, and that's certainly being used by many organizations globally to run their entire organization. It's become critical to the running of first responders, the health service, hospitals, police forces, all running on this same backbone. But what I think is really important to say is that you might argue that things like Word and PowerPoint have been around for years, been around forever, and frankly, they're probably perceived to be a little bit dull. I think what you need to, or what I would ask you to consider is, you need to try and learn how to use those tools, because now there's lots of artificial intelligence that's built into these free services that actually help you do your best work. So what we're doing is getting the artificial intelligence to do the work whilst you provide the content and you provide the thought and the leadership and the ideas, but that the technology can actually do a lot of the delivery for you. So that's probably what we're best known for in terms of some of the things we're least well known for. Microsoft used to be in the mobile phone market through the acquisition of Nokia, which some of you may remember, certainly many of your parents will remember. We are owners of an organization called LinkedIn, which is the world's largest professional platform. And again, as you go through your education and into the workplace, you'll certainly recognize the value that LinkedIn can provide in terms of making connections between businesses and people in those businesses, and latterly becoming far more focused on learning and the sort of tools that you need to have if you want to be successful and progress your career. Clearly, the definition of success is something that you need to determine, No one's saying that everybody needs to be the chief exec. We've all got a part to play. On the other level, Microsoft's really interested in helping young learners. So Minecraft has lots of learning built into that platform, that game. And it's all about getting creative thoughts flowing, giving confidence to lots of people. And Minecraft's a brilliant tool for that. I put some figures on the bottom of that. It's not relevant necessarily that we've invested huge amounts of money, but it does give some sense of scale around the sort of investment that's required for large organizations. And for me, you know, the acquisition of Minecraft for $2.5 billion for a business that, from recollection, it was a 4-year-old business that only employed 25 people at the time that Microsoft acquired it, is really quite staggering. It's also interesting for me that we're no longer in the mobile phone market. And actually, I think there's a big learning there for lots of us that it's all right to change your mind. It's all right to change your path. And actually, it's a very mature way of looking at things, that just because you've invested heavily doesn't require you to continue to, you know, to throw good money after bad. And I think the recognition was that to be world class in the mobile phone market, we needed to withdraw, think differently, and come back at a different point in time. So there's a lesson in there for everybody, I think. Microsoft's one of the world's richest organizations. That's come from a lot of hard work, lots of fantastic vision, but actually it gives us a privilege and the opportunity to be very generous in the way that we work with the planet, I suppose. In recent times with COVID-19, we actually extended a $20 million grant available to any organization, person, business, university, that is actively looking to, you know, progress with something relating to COVID-19, whether it's looking for a cure, whether it's building an app. And lots of people have gone out and actually taken advantage of that. And it's fantastic to work for a business that's able to, you know, demonstrate its generosity in that way. We do much more than that in terms of sort of saving the planet, emissions, carbon neutrality, and paying back, in fact, all of the carbon costs that running the business ever since its beginnings in the 70s. We're looking to repay all of that carbon impact as well. So really nice to be able to work for an organization that thinks in that way. I want to just touch on artificial intelligence. I mentioned it before. This is just a screenshot from a TV program that was on a short while ago. It caught my eye, not for no other reason than, without realizing it, I was watching TV and saw a couple of my friends who were acting as extras in this particular clip. But the reality is, AI, as it's often referred to, is in every organization, but in every piece of software, it's starting to play its part. If you think sort of 60 years ago, what did a police force do, or what was a police force known for? It would have been for a Bobby on the beat, sort of walking the streets. And it was really about presence and the ability to either sort of threaten by your presence that people shouldn't commit crime. But actually it was all about that visible nature. Now you see far less policemen on the street, but actually it's more about collecting data, starting to analyze data, predicting which areas are sort of suffering. And this image with a friend of mine with the sort of artificial intelligence graph on his face is really just demonstrating that through camera technology, from Internet of Things, we can actually capture and track many, many things. There's lots of reasons why it's neither legal or ethical in most circumstances, but it is all about collecting data that enables us to make places safer, you know, to provide a better existence for everybody. So again, whatever your path that you're considering, it's really important to consider how important digital and digital literacy will become. A little bit light-hearted, but in a particular town in the US, just to again give you a bit of a citer as to where the world is going. They're currently piloting, trialing, call it what you will, autonomous vehicles, which in effect means there's no driver. So Domino's can now deliver a pizza to your home without a driver in the car, all through the use of technology. So a little bit of fun, but actually it does help you understand that we're really not that far away from some of these things that used to be considered science fiction. So again, please just consider a level of digital literacy. I think with Gary and or possibly Abs and Bobby's session where somebody was talking about, no, it was Gary definitely. He made a comment about do something you enjoy. He said, I didn't consider football to be fun. Well, for lots of amateur footballers, I think we would consider it to be fun. But the reality is it's something you enjoy. And that's really important. This is actually a screenshot from Microsoft's recruitment homepage. And the headline is quite unusual for a big corporate software organization. It says, do what you love. I think it's a really, really important point. If you're not going to get out of bed on a morning on a Saturday and choose with your own free time to participate in a really important thing because you love what you do, you should really challenge whether you might want to retrain, might want to reposition or redirect your thoughts about what it is you can do. Not everybody can have the best job in the world, but it should be something that you're really motivated to do and something that you love. If you look at an organization like Microsoft, to the right-hand side, that's a visualization, not an actual factual piece of information. But you can look at an organization like Microsoft and you can find within it a multitude of different work types. And that will be the same for lots of large organizations as well. So again, just to kind of repeat back and really galvanize the relationship, the partnership that we have with UA92, you know, it's a shared campus. We go there, it's a place we go to work often. We do have a choice, we do have flexibility. We are limited at the moment in terms of access, just like everybody. But it's a thing that we really wanted to be part of, and we've invested into being there for many years, and we really want to grow with UA92. We're heavily invested in terms of guiding and supporting the co-design of curriculum, and it was mentioned that we've supported the co-design of the computer science program that's new for 2020. And that we're using it as a primary location for events to be held either in the north of England, in the northwest, or Manchester specifically. And our relationships with lots of industry partners, government organisations, and businesses around Manchester will often be found milling around in the common areas within the university, which I think is really helpful. We run and support events around, it's already been talked about, things around health and well-being. I think that's important as well. And we're absolutely interested. We're certainly not there to, you know, fix people's devices necessarily, but you know, if students are interested in getting into conversation with Microsoft staff, you'll find no one is unwilling or holding back in terms of engaging with you. In fact, we positively encourage it. So I think that's a real benefit. Again, we talked about the digital. I think we've got to be careful with the use of the word talent, but what this diagram is looking to demonstrate, and the source is the World Economic Forum. This is suggesting that there is a digital talent gap all across the world. But if you look at the very small orange Great Britain symbol in the middle, it's saying that there is a medium talent shortage. What that means in real terms is that as a person entering a next phase of education this year, hopefully, or very, very soon, you should really be driving your digital literacy, because that is what an employer is going to be expecting. They're going to be expecting somebody who has a core set of skills in that particular degree program, but it is also able to bring that to bear in the workplace with digital skills. And that's all around your agility with all of those things. It's not just Microsoft, but PowerPoint, Excel, Word. All of those things are going to be expected by your employer, irrespective of the organization type that you go into. And then this is just a little bit light-hearted, really. Again, I mentioned before, you know, as somebody who is sort of later in career, sorry, I was trying to move my face out of the way of one of the points there. I like to think I can offer a sort of a looking back view of some of the things that I now feel are really important. And if I was sharing this with my own sons or you on this call today, find something you can really enjoy. It's okay if that's make money or or it's because it makes you feel good or you're delivering real value or service to a community. But really do find that thing that you enjoy. I think being open-minded, being prepared to fail, being committed kind of aligns well, again, with the point that Gary made. If you're going to get up and do it properly. I think that's really important. And actually, this is becoming more prevalent in society today, is consider those around you. People, you know, people of color is a big topic at the moment, encouraging kind of women in tech, you know, being supportive, people with, you know, mental health challenges, be supportive of those. Really do think about others in the things that you do. Again, with Microsoft's learning, fail fast, learn and go again, don't give up. Gary talked about his coping strategy, figure out what yours is, but ultimately it's about having a go, trying new things, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, finessing, and then going again. And I think that's really encouraged at UA92 with the coaching as well. And then really, really important for me is that actually this period of education and being successful in coming out as a rounded individual with that character strength, with that critical thinking, all of those additional bits that the UA92 put front and center, gives you choice about how to spend the rest of your life and the rest of your kind of career. I think that's really, really valuable. I think it's a critical time for you, and I hope that you make those right decisions. So I think that's the end. I'll hand it back, I think, possibly not to Gareth, but to whoever. I hope that was useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. That was brilliant. Please stay online. I'm Claire Riding, Director of External Affairs at UA92. So I have the pleasure of working with our partners on an almost daily basis. I'd like to also introduce a couple of our other partners, Jess Southworth from Hotel Football and Ian Turner from Talk. The three of you have kindly agreed to join me for a short panel question and answer session. So I'll kick off with the first question. Justin, you've probably already touched on this in your presentation, but if I can ask to Ian and then Jess, can you tell us why you've partnered with UA92 and what your vision is for the partnership in the future?
So good morning, everybody. So I'm Ian Turner. I'm Talent Director at Talk. So why did we partner with UA92? I think, you know, we are a large employer in the local area. We've recently moved our headquarters into Salford Quay, so there's around 2,000 of us there right now. And my job essentially is to make sure that we have the right people in the right jobs at the right time. And that means that we need to be able to grow our talent base and basically attract the very best. And Justin just mentioned earlier on in his presentation around there's kind of a medium shortage and everybody wants the very best. So, you know, for us, it's about tapping into people like UA92, providing the students with a number of opportunities to start to get the right skills just to move into workplace, as well as the academia side of it as well. And that's a great thing. But I think the main thing that really drove us to UA92 was the culture. Gary touched on this earlier on. There's a vibrancy. I think the character development piece, you know, it's so in line with what we're like at Talk that it's kind of a marriage made in heaven really for us. So yeah, huge opportunity for us, you know, grow our talent base and work with some very like-minded people, and then hopefully we can provide some amazing opportunities for the students as well as some career options.
Thanks, Ian. Over to you, Jess. Oh, you might need to unmute your mic.
Sorry. I think I'm actually going to echo what Ian's just said there. So with Hotel Football, aside from the natural synergy with the owners, because we do have the Class 92 as 5 of our owners as well, aside from that, it is the ethos, the feeling, the vibrancy that both businesses do have. So there's we have quite a lot of character in common with both areas. I think for us it was very exciting because we were actually on a path of being able to offer forms of placements over the summer, etc. At the minute, this has kind of paused, which, as we know, which is a shame for the moment, but we know we'll resume. But yeah, I think it's the belief. So the belief in kind of what the UA92 is looking to achieve. We have that same ethos within our team and how we want our team to develop. So even as much as it is with students in the workplace, we are all about our character development. We do coach each other, so it's very much on the job. So very, very similar as well.
Thanks, Jess. So my next question to all of you, perhaps starting with Justin this time. At UA92, obviously, we've talked about the fact we teach character and personal development as part of all of our degrees. So this includes things such as resilience, problem solving, communication, health and well-being. I mean, we believe that you need more than a degree to help you prepare for the world of work. Can you tell us what your views are on this and what skills you think have been previously lacking when you've recruited new graduates?
I think I'm going to use Juneteenth as a vehicle to kind of articulate my answer, I think. So the actual answer is Microsoft would look for people who stand out. And we think it's great if you stand out. You could stand out through your academic prowess and ability. You could stand out because you are looking to achieve more in spite of certain differences. I sat yesterday, the entire UK organisation of Microsoft was asked not to work on normal things, but to dedicate the entire day to learning more about the problems that are going on around colour and George Floyd and things of that nature. And actually what was really staggering was to see the volume of webinars, calls, collateral, communications that were put together by a variety of people, irrespective of colour, gender, age, and actually you could choose from a menu of 1 hour sections to sit and listen and learn from others, and they were led by young people, old people, senior people, junior people, graduates, people who had an opinion. So, I hope that kind of metaphor for answering it is a useful one. We are looking for people who can stand out in some shape or form. So go take a degree, take further education, but look for something that helps you stand out. It could be your bounce back ability, as it used to be called, or your resilience, or your character, or your critical thinking, but you have to stand out. And ever more so now that more people are going to be ultimately looking to secure fewer jobs. That is a really critical investment that you can make in your education and really finessing what you are and why you.
Thanks, Justin. Can I hand over to you, Ian?
Yeah, sure. So I think in danger of repeating some of the things that have been said already this morning, but yes, absolutely, skills are going to be key, but we recruit an awful lot at Talk on behaviour. And Gary talked about this earlier on around the kind of work ethic, and I think that's the really piece that we look for in bucket loads, really. So I think I've seen Gary speak before, and he used an analogy of Manchester United, and unfortunately as a Manchester City fan it still pains me to talk about that, but he talks about Manchester United being an island, and you have to work really hard to get onto that island. But then you have to work twice as hard when you're on the island to stay there. And I think that's business. When you're a student, you work incredibly hard to gain your qualifications. And I think, what I really hope to see from the students from UA92 is when they come into industry, that they see that right now I'm working doubly hard. And that's where the whole resilience piece comes in. There are going to be days when it's tough. There are days when, we encourage feedback in bucket loads, and that can be positive feedback, it can be developmental feedback, and you need to be able to take that, you need to be able to deal with it, and then you used to use that as a conduit for kind of moving on in your life. So I think for me, the character development piece, as I said earlier on from UA92, is the critical bit for me, because I think it gives you the wrap around to your academic studies that really sets you up for success when you get into industry. And I've seen before in the past, sometimes we get graduates that come in and they've got that growth mindset, that natural curiosity and problem solving, and they tend to thrive. I also get the other ones where when they start to get feedback and the work ramps up, that they start to shrink. And, for me, I would do exactly what Gary said earlier on. Get up every single day, work really hard, take the feedback, take the development opportunities, and just keep going.
Thanks, Ian. And Jess?
Again, very, very similar. So at the worry of repeating, I think with hotel football, again, we are, it is a hotel, but it's very different to your typical hotel. So again, when we are recruiting, it's very easy to see something on paper that looks fantastic. You know, that a particular candidate might be ready to kind of fit the box, but then put that person into a very heavy, typical match day environment. And it's very easy then to see how that character can be resilient to that day. You can deal with all sorts, as you can in any business. But I think more so with hotel football, you find yourself having to turn your hand at various departments. I mean, I look after the sales team, but that doesn't mean you won't see me at the back of reception helping with some luggage because a massive group has turned up at one time. And sometimes it is almost like Ian said, you do start to see people that you maybe have recruited and you can just tell when they maybe not quite cut or they're not used to it because they're used to maybe more of the academic environment and they're not sure how to apply that character and that personal skill into the day-to-day job. So yeah, I mean, this is one of the reasons why when we look with the UA92, we've done a few presentations with the students and show rounds, and I'm very keen when I've done that to find out why they're there. And it's all about wanting to grow as an individual. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, and that's one of the that leads on well actually to my final question. So I'll stick with you, Jess, to start us off on this one. Obviously we're industry led at UA92, and of course our students will get masterclasses, insight days with industry, and you'll all contribute to the design of our courses. How do you think that level of industry exposure and involvement contributes to degrees and academic qualifications?
So exposure is key. I think, again, probably taking the example of a hotel with ourselves, people probably see the hotel as it's a hotel. They don't realise that some of the courses, obviously, that take place, there is finance in there. You know, we have a PR and a communications team. We have operational teams. We have a fitness team. There's lots of things that go on behind the scenes rather than a building of just rooms. So again, having the students in, showing them around, you know, a bit of a day in the life kind of scenario. It's interesting because, you know, it might make the decision to cement what they want to do, but it gives them a quick access to decide, well, maybe is that for me or is that not? I think one of the sessions that we've done before, we were liaising with one of the guys from KPMG and he'd said the same thing. He'd started a particular course and quickly realised it wasn't for him, and then obviously found finance. So I think exposure is key because you can make a decision earlier on and then develop from there.
Absolutely. Justin, I'll go over to you next, please.
I think again, Microsoft is so varied, and the trade that you learn, again, just exactly what Jess says, the trade that you learn can be applied in probably 100, 200, 500 different ways at an organization like Microsoft. So for me, I'm not sure if I'm exactly answering your question, but turning it towards the kind of model of studying at UA92, where you've got lots of time is created for you to question whether you're doing those right things, you know, to catch yourself perhaps going down a path, you know, early enough to maybe divert slightly. And I think, again, you know, having those sort of morning or afternoon blocks, having that Wednesday period set aside, having the different structure to kind of not having that, probably what for lots of people is of cramming and revising and all of those sorts of things that comes with the traditional kind of degree, I guess. But perhaps creates that headspace for certain people to really just think, am I doing the right thing? Am I taking the right degree? Do I know what job I want to do? And I think, again, the partnership, you have, you know, the students there have a perfect opportunity to say, well, okay, that's great. But, you know, to Jess's point, what drives that big building that has lots of bedrooms in it? Because that's the shop window. The reality of what happens behind is entirely different. So.
Thanks, Justin. And finally, over to you, Ian.
Yeah, for me, I think two angles really on this one. I think number one is the co-creation of the curriculum should give all the students some real comfort that they're learning things that industry wants. You're not just going to come away with a certificate, and I think that's going to be crucial when making a choice about where to go. And I'm a huge believer that you get the most out of people when they're in an environment where they're going to thrive. And you know, I remember I've had some awful career choices and things that have worked really, really well, and other areas where I kind of went, this is just not for me. So I think giving students access to industry partners, where, you know, Bobby said when she's been into Talk, and a few of the other students have, they will instantly look in there and go, actually, I get a feel that I could thrive here and the culture here. And it takes that gamble out of the way. So I think, you know, working with curriculum design, we can do insight dates, mentoring, etc., and just opening up the world of opportunities for students, I think, is the thing that we can give. And then hopefully, you know, we'll see some great people that will want to come and work for us. But if they decide that actually we're not the right company and the right culture for them, at least they'll walk away knowing what kind of culture they do thrive in and can make the right decisions in life. And I think that's the gift that we can kind of give.
Thank you, Ian. And thanks to all of our partner panelists for taking the time today to join us on our virtual event. It's been really great to hear from you. So I'll wrap up this session now. I really hope all of our guests are enjoying the event so far. Next up, we've got our UA92 experience, which is a great session that includes information on student life, wellbeing and finance, as well as some of our fantastic students. Alternatively, if you're thinking about applying to study with us this September, November or January, then you can join our Fast Track to 2020 session with Andrew and Emma. Both of those sessions are starting at 12:15, so there's time for a little break. I know we've had loads of things for you to watch so far, so you're probably ready for a short break. Just to get in, if you want to go back into those events, you just click the link in your virtual open day schedule, which you'll find in your email. So thanks everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.